Hey everyone, I hope you and your families are staying safe and healthy during this difficult time. As you may have noticed, TLN is reaching out to different members of the community to check in on them and see just how they are doing during this coronavirus situation. And one of the people that we're chatting with today is Sonja Missio, who you may recognize from the Serie A halftime show. As a fellow sports journalist with no sports, she's got some interesting stories to tell. Sonja, thank you so much for joining us, of course, during these crazy times for everybody. How are you doing?
I'm okay. My little 500 square foot apartment has two adults in it and a dog. So we are learning to live harmoniously and separating kitchen space into office space and workspace, but we're getting there. How about you? How have you been holding up?
I'm good. Obviously, it's a little bit of an adjustment working from home, but I mean, it's been nice, like you said, spending time with the family, with the dog. But yeah, it's been an adjustment period for sure. And especially working with sports, going into that day-to-day life without having a soccer match to look forward to is mind-blowing.
Oh, I know. It's sort of like weekends and weekdays meld into each other because you don't have that. I mean, I don't know when Tuesdays are because Champions League isn't on. And even, the season would be kind of winding down this month and leading into April, but we would still have MLS to look forward to, and that's just not happening. The Euros aren't happening. It's hard.
Of course. And being a journalist yourself, like how are you spending that free time? How are you adapting to this new world with no sports?
Um, so I've been looking at other things that aren't necessarily sports, but maybe more so games. The online world of poker has been a big thing that's been playing in this house.
Oh.
So yeah, a lot of online poker watching, a lot of esports have been going on, and just sort of kind of transitioning back to like, when people are at their best and they're experts in their field. So while it's not actually on a field, it's more in a video sort of virtual space, which has been kind of neat learning that transition.
Absolutely. And I think this is a chance for a lot of people to pick up new interests, new hobbies. So you have mentioned to me that in your free time, you have been spending some time volunteering. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you've been doing and why you decided to participate in this initiative?
Sure. So I work at Mount Sinai Foundation during the week normally, and obviously we've been working from home. And the hospital decided to ask people who weren't necessarily frontline workers if they could come in and volunteer with screening or, helping visitors and whatnot. So I volunteered there today, and it's been incredible. There was a shift change, and all these doctors and nurses came in at the same time. And just to see all of these frontline workers coming into work has been absolutely amazing. And of course, it's not just the doctors and the nurses, but it's the porters and the staff who help with cleaning, physiotherapists, just everybody working and making sure that patients are being taken care of and that, we're getting the city back to full health. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And when it does come to coronavirus cases, are they going directly to the hospital? Are they being received there? Or what is kind of the protocol there?
So it's interesting. When I was when I was volunteering today, a lot of people who were coming in were just people who were there who would normally go to the hospital. So we saw a huge amount of new dads whose spouses and wives were in the delivery room already or are getting prepared, and they had just parked the car and they'd come in. So life goes on and everything is still moving the same way as possible. So it's incredible to hear the stories of people coming to the hospital still. So while I didn't work with anyone who was necessarily sick per se, it's incredible to see how everyone is coming together and working hard for it.
Absolutely. And is there any way to help out? Are there any initiatives or any efforts that people can get in? And now, are there any efforts or I guess any initiatives that people can get involved with to support those frontline workers and to support the hospital?
For sure. Thank you for asking. Sinai Health has set up a fund. It's the Sinai CEO Fund, and it supports the well being of the frontline staff and hospital employees at both Mount Sinai and Bridgepoint Active Healthcare. So that's our partner organization. It provides the hospital CEO, Dr. Gary Newton, with unrestricted funds to support unforeseen needs not covered by the government. So I know that kind of sounds like a little bit of a mouthful, but essentially what it does, it helps us, fight the day-to-day things, and it helps really support the frontline staff workers with things that they need that the government might not come up with all together. So if there's something that frontline staff workers need that day, we'll have that money set aside in order to help them out.
Absolutely. And I think it's so important just to note that the hospitals do need help. We've seen it in Italy when there wasn't enough ICU units to support it. So the earlier we can get the support and the relief needed, the better off the entire community will be. So honestly, Sonja,
Sure.
I do have to congratulate you at least, or thank you for your efforts in volunteering and in helping out.
It's not me. It's a million incredible people who I'm just lucky to help support them. Honestly, it's the way the city has come together and the way the healthcare providers, both from both ends of the spectrum, have worked together is amazing.
Absolutely. And another kind of interesting story that I've been following along and that you've been supporting has been a certain way that your family has been impacted by the virus. Do you want to share the story with the viewers and I guess kind of give us an update on what's been happening with your parents?
For sure. So my parents left the city the day before Valentine's Day. So I know it's hard to think back that far long ago, but they decided to leave for a cruise the day before Valentine's Day. And to put that kind of in perspective, the strain of Corona was named COVID-19 literally the day before. So this is how far back it was. And they were on this cruise and no one could predict this, but eventually they weren't allowed into any ports. They had very limited Wi-Fi on the cruise. So for quite a while, they had no idea what was going on in the world, which, my father's Italian. So he was completely disconnected from his home country. And, he just noticed that scores weren't coming up all the time and he had no idea why. And essentially what happened was they were kind of stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and no one was really sure if they could get home, how they were going to get home. They were at sea for about 2 weeks. So the good news was that no one on board was showing symptoms or, no one was diagnosed with corona, but they were in isolation as well. So it took a lot of effort. I know TLN reached out for help, which was amazing. So thank you very much for that. We worked really closely with my parents' MP. A lot of news coverage was covering it. So it was a big effort to get not just my parents, but everybody on the ship home. And it was big. And they're finally home.
And they're
safe.
home now.
They are home now.
Okay.
They arrived home yesterday, I believe, after flying from Hawaii. They started in Australia and they went to Hawaii and then to Vancouver and Toronto. And, being stuck in Hawaii does sound a little bit like a dream, but not under those circumstances. So, yeah, it was a huge group community effort to bring them home, and they're home and they're safe and they're not leaving their house for 2 weeks at the very least. And it's been a lot, but we've got there.
It's definitely been a roller coaster. We were all following along. Of course, it's great news that they're finally home. What was that reaction when they got home? Did you get to talk to them? Was there obviously a big sigh of relief?
There definitely was. One of the hardest parts is because when you're out at sea, there's very limited Wi-Fi and, communication has been kind of spotty. So when they finally arrived in Vancouver, they could actually turn on their phones and not have all those, not even roaming charges, but the fact that they could actually connect someplace. So we chatted for a bit. They had to wear masks the entire time, obviously. So, it made communication a little bit difficult, but we rather them healthy and following protocol, obviously. And when they finally got home, all they wanted to do was go to sleep and, their neighbors stocked their fridge for them. So it was like this huge, great community effort. And yeah, we're very, very grateful for everybody who's helped out.
Of course. And would you say that there are any learning experiences from the entire process of getting on the ship, finding ways to collaborate to get them back, working with the government and with Norwegian cruises as well? Was there a learning experience? Was there any takeaways that you would share with our viewers?
Yes. If you do go on a cruise, and their cruise was quite long, their whole vacation was something like 6 weeks, but their cruise was a few weeks out of that. But always pack extra medication because the cruise didn't end when it was supposed to. People started running out of their prescriptions and whatnot. So always pack extra medication and extra underwear as well. use the resources around you. The media and my parents' MP rather had been really, really helpful. The communication was amazing. People on the actual ship created a Facebook group. So people who had Wi-Fi or were a bit more tech savvy, because it's a cruise. Sometimes there's a lot of, people who are a little bit older and may not necessarily know how to use WhatsApp. People from the cruise were connecting people from back home. So it was just this amazing collaborative effort. And we've had so many people reach out to us and, worry about my parents and worry about everybody else on the ship. So it's been amazing. So yeah, and we had been trying to get them home for at least 2 weeks, but we canceled like 500 different, well, that's a bit much. We canceled at least 4 flights for them. And so just getting everyone coordinated to figure it out at the end was incredible. Yeah, really, really grateful.
Well, we are very happy to hear that you got them home and that at least they're safe and they're following, of course, the rules. Because one of the main concerns is if you did get home recently, stay home. Like you said, you had great neighbors stock up the fridge or talk to someone who can stock it, because there's no point in going out if you don't know who you've been in contact with.
Exactly. And even getting home from the airport, my brother picked them up, and my brother's now isolating himself, so they didn't take any public transit or an Uber or a limo or whatnot. And my brother is he's an educator, so obviously he doesn't have necessarily work from home right now, so he's being able to stay home, and we're all staying really, really safe, and neighbors are getting them anything that they need, which isn't really anything right now. So other than, I think, boredom because my dad doesn't have any soccer to watch, that's probably the,
like all of us.
I know. My partner, he plays for the OSL, and he's used to playing like 4 to 5 times a week, and he's just, foosball doesn't cut it, it turns out.
It really doesn't. But you know what, Sonia, we're really happy to hear that at least everything is running smoothly and finally kind of getting back into place. Before we let you go, do you have a message or just something that you'd want to share with the TLN viewers back home?
Yes, please, everyone. We talk about social distancing a lot, and social distancing doesn't mean you can't still be social. You and I are Skyping right now. We've been chatting over WhatsApp the last few days. Please stay at home if possible, and make sure you're following rules, and you're not just keeping yourself safe, but you're keeping the entire community safe. And that's super, super important. And, pick up a new skill if you're bored. I literally spent all of Sunday making a lasagna from scratch. So if anyone on TLN wants to throw down a cooking challenge, I'm here for that.
Listen, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. So we'll definitely be in touch with you. Some quarantine cooking.
Yeah, quarantine cooking. I love it. Yeah. David, I'm coming for you with my lasagna.
Okay, I can't promise that. But we'll see. We'll see. Oh my gosh, Sonia, it was so great catching up with you as always. Thank you for joining us, and of course we wish you the best right now.
Stay safe and stay at home.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks. Ciao.